us offer a small prayer to the great sage Patanjali. Please join me if you can. Yogena chittasya padena vacha malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopa karotum pravaram muninam Patanjalim pranjali ranatosmi. The meaning of this prayer. I adore and bow with folded hands to sage Patanjali, the great Muni who helped remove impurities of the mind through yoga, to remove mistakes from language and speech through his writings on Sanskrit grammar, and the guide to removing diseases and dirt from the body through his authorship on Ayurveda. My humble prostrations to sage Patanjali, to this exalted, God-realized lineage of Kriya Yoga masters. My humble prostrations, and I humbly bow down to all the saints and sages of all spiritual paths in the world, and I humbly bow down to the divinity present in each one of you. Good morning. So we are here to talk a little bit about the Yoga Sutras. Just as a curiosity, my question of curiosity, how many of you are familiar with this text? You read all of it? Okay. How many of you have listened to all of the talks of Sri Guruji on the same topic? A few. Wonderful. It's good. Excellent. So, for those of you who have already read and digested this matter, I'm going to be repeating a lot of this stuff. So, it may be boring. This prayer, as we pray to Sage Patanjali, Sage Patanjali has given us a gift of three things in the world. One is the knowledge of yoga philosophy. Second is Sanskrit grammar. And the third is Ayurveda. All three of them are his contributions to the world. And he became a medium. Sage Patanjali, even though he is so highly regarded, he never claims authorship for the Yoga Sutras. He's just the compiler, he says, of the system of yoga that existed at that time. That itself is a teaching, the beginning of the teaching for us. So it's very powerful. And Sage Patanjali is very, very unique in that the Yoga Sutras, it is not just a scripture, it is not a poem or a song. There is no emotional stuff in there. It is very, very clinical, very direct, very precise. Everything that he has said in the Yoga Sutras is very, 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 very technical. And it is a science. And this is the only master who has converted the entire approach to achieving God communion into a science. There's a methodology, on how you go about doing that. That is the beauty about sage Patanjali compared to any of the other scriptures, any of the other masters. A huge difference. So it's a science, and built into that science is a discipline. So we will start this. It's actually more of a discussion, I would say. I'll say a few words and then we'll go into a little bit of a question and answer. There's supposed to be 4 sessions of this that we are going to go through. So I'll speak for a few minutes and then we'll talk about it, discuss it, and ask questions. We'll start with the very first sutra. And again, as many of you have read this book, it's all comprised of sutras, right? What is a sutra? It's a thread. Okay, yeah. What else? Aphorism. Yep. So it's a. Pardon? Okay, somebody has to translate Spanish. Yes, wonderful. So it is a simple, very pithy, small one-line statement in Sanskrit, but it is very, very filled, pregnant with tons of information in that one line of few words. So that is what is the sutra. And this entire book comprises of 196 sutras. That's basically what it is. And so we will take select sutras that we're going to talk about in the next few days, depending on how things go. So we'll begin with the very, very first sutra. And what is the very first sutra? Fantastic. So a very, very learned group here. So, Atha Yoga Anusasanam. What does it mean? So, okay, yes. So there are different interpretations here. So Srimati Maya is saying this is the discipline of yoga, correct? And somebody else said?
For me, it's now I will teach you.
Now I will teach you yoga. Yes. So there are different interpretations of this. So, and we are talking about just 3 words. And right here we have 2 explanations, 2 translations of that same word. So let us slowly get into what these words mean as the masters are explaining it. And when we are talking about the masters, obviously we are talking about Sri Guruji's explanation, and Sri Guruji is referring to Sage Patanjali, Lahiri Mahasya's commentary. So, and where possible, we'll talk about Sage Vyasa's commentary and Vachaspati Mishra's commentary on Sage Vyasa's commentary, and then Swami Hariharananda Aranya. These are 3 different masters who have commented upon this Yoga Sutra. So this one line, when we look at it, is translated as, this is the discipline of yoga. Now the discipline of yoga. Now then, yoga is being explained. 3 ways of different masters. And yet another master that we'll be referring to on and off is the commentaries of Osho. Very interesting. So, and if we go directly from this book, and Sri Guruji is explaining Lahiri Mahasya's commentary, he says, thereafter, yoga is really explained by complete tranquilization of thought. One will keep the mind completely absorbed in the atom point, Bindu, like an innocent, pure person continually concentrating on a star. One will attain spontaneous state of samadhi. Would you even think that all of this is written into these 3 words? That is where the expertise of a master comes in. how to interpret these three words and bring out the real meaning. What does this really mean? So this is Lahiri Mahashaya's commentary. And then further to that, Sri Guruji is adding, he says, when one is entirely engrossed in one thought, it is called Samprajñata Samadhi. Right in the beginning, they are bringing out detail. And then when one is completely thoughtless, it is Asamprajñata Samadhi. We will come to those technical terms later on. Let us first come back to this three words: Atha, Yoga, and Anusashanam. Just those three words. Let's try to understand it. One of the interpretations of this word Atha is, as Mother was saying, now. You wonder why. Because we said, now the discipline of yoga. Now then the yoga is being explained. Sage Vyasadeva, he explains that. And then Sri Guruji, the master of Sanskrit, right? He says, word Atha has, just the word Atha, 6 meanings. Let's look at each one of those. First one is Mangala. It's all auspiciousness. Second, Prashna. It's a question. Third, Karyarambha. Initiating, beginning. Anantara, thereafter. See, Lahiri Mahashaya says, thereafter, yoga is really explained. Adhikara, right or qualification. Pratignya, a promise. Who in the world would even think this word Atha would mean so many things? That is why it is a sutra, so much of interpretation and how you look at it. And Sri Guruji is taking this word directly from the Sanskrit language and saying, okay, these are possible ways in which we can look at it. And then delving deeper into that is, Sri Guruji says, each of these 6 meanings are associated with each of the 6 chakras. So, first one, Atha, when we say auspiciousness, Mangala, it is not only this text, Narada Bhakti Sutra, another text of aphorisms, and Brahma Sutra, another text of aphorisms, all of them begin with Atha, the first word, auspiciousness, invoking God, a prayer, Atha. So that's the first one. This prashna, it is a question. Atha yoga, the minute after Atha, he is saying yoga. He is introducing the word yoga. Automatically, as a seeker, it says, the question arises, so what is yoga? A question arises. So that is why Atha, he says, is prashna. It's a question. And this questioning is also associated with the second chakra. So the first chakra is bottom center, auspiciousness, Muladhara. Second, prashna is second chakra. And the question is, do really people want a God-conscious life? That's the question, according to Guruji. Then we come to the third one, third chakra, Karyarambha, initiating, beginning. Why? What is important about the third chakra? Navel center, center of energy, significant energy. And Sri Guruji says, spiritual practice starts from this center. Atha. A means the power of God. Tha is the seed syllable of the navel center. So, Karyarambha, the beginning, in this center. Then we come to the heart center, Atha, thereafter. So we come to the navel center, thereafter. One crosses the navel center, one wants to know what is next. What is after this? The state of self-enquiry. Then qualification. We said Atha is also qualification, next center. When here Guruji is explaining, when one crosses the propensities of the heart center and comes to the throat center, one is in a state of a qualified disciple. Why heart center? Heart center is the seat of all emotion and all kind of desires. Kama, karma, both associated in heart center. So one transcends those very basic rudimentary stuff, then one goes a qualified disciple. And we'll talk a little more about this qualified disciple, because this statement itself is associated with what type of discipleship one is in before beginning. It's very important. Then begins the promise, pratigna, sixth chakra. When one reaches this chakra, meaning soul center, one is experiencing peace, bliss, joy, happiness, and promises not to be distracted from this state. Right here. So, all three are just the word Atha. We have said now. Atha means now. By sage Patanjali using this word now, he is already implying that something has happened before. Then comes the now. Now I'm going to tell you about this. So that means something has happened in the past, right? And that happening is what we are talking about, a qualified disciple. It is said, the Yoga Sutras, very simple, right? 196 sutras. This one sutra, if a disciple is the highest level of a disciple, the best qualified disciple, this one sutra is enough. Nothing else is needed. None of the other hundreds of sutras are needed at all. That disciple is able to interpret this one sutra and say, I'm there. A question for us, am I there? Can I interpret this one sutra and say, I've understood everything? If not, then more. And what is that kind of disciple who has come to that state where I'm already there? I'm so qualified that just this one statement, Atha Yoga Anusashanam, is enough for me to understand everything about yoga philosophy and the message of sage Patanjali. For example, we were just talking about it. How would I even know that this one word, Atha, has 6 different meanings? And what does now mean? And then we are yet to talk about yoga and then Anusasana. So if a disciple is really, really qualified, they will know how to interpret this and say, I'm there. One way of looking at this now is that the disciple should have come to a mental state where there is complete and total dissatisfaction with everything else in life. It is like the statement made by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Defining the world, Lord Krishna says, Dukkhalayam. This entire world is nothing but a source of misery. Have we come to that state? And we are desperately wanting out. We want liberation now. Or my mind is still hoping and hankering over many different things in life. That determines the kind of disciple I am. If I am that disciple who is on the threshold saying, look, I'm done. Now, I present yoga to you. When we ask this question, are you really dissatisfied? Some of you say, yeah, I'm really dissatisfied. I just give you some sweets or I take you to a movie. I'm satisfied now. And my hunger is satisfied. I saw the movie, I'm happy. Short satisfaction, dissatisfaction. We are vacillating between these things, never permanently in that state. So, we are hoping, continuously hoping. So this dissatisfaction is not really completely total. You're hankering for satisfaction somewhere through some object, some situation, some person, some place. You're still longing for that satisfaction. So that situation of now has not yet come. And even that sense of hopelessness, you say, oh, this project failed, oh, I'm not getting a job, there's so much of financial difficulty, there's hopelessness there. Even that is momentary. The minute you got a job, disappeared. Party begins. The world has opened up and I have a lot of money and okay, buy a car, house. So I have not really come to that state of total and absolute sense of hopelessness. So to say I'm established there. So, hoping that there's something is going to happen. And this hopelessness and dissatisfaction is all associated with the mind. And here is where sage Vyasadeva and Swami Hariharananda Aranya, they all talk about different states of the mind. And we are talking about this one sutra. Where is the talk about any mind? Where is the state of mind? But all this is automatically, for a qualified disciple, I'd say, I understood. And it is about the states of mind. What are the states of the mind that they are talking about? 5 states of the mind. First state of the mind is kshipta, restless, wandering mind. Second state is muda, stupefied, forgetful, dull. Third state, vikshipta, distracted, occasionally steady. Then comes ekagra, one-pointed. Finally comes niruddha, stop. Arrested, stopped, or restrained completely. How are these states of mind reflected in this sutra? Because it is taking you from the lowest state to the highest state. Because atha yoga anusashanam. I'm going to teach you about yoga. Now the discipline of yoga. So we are talking about concentration. There's concentration happening in various states. For example, one can be in a state of anger, hatred, jealousy, infatuation. It's concentrated on that. But that level of concentration is not going to lead me to liberation. But the mind is concentrated. A depressed person is also concentrated mind. It is focused on that object of depression, whatever is the cause. It is stuck, it is down, but that is not going to take me upward. And this distracted mind, vikshipta, sometimes it is distracted, sometimes it's steady. And that is indicating that sometimes I'm very nice, I'm in good state. Sometimes I'm not. I'm going this way and that way. And that is what happens with some of those. And we are all in different states at different points in time. And as we progress as a spiritual seeker, and I'm saying we, I'm qualifying that with we, saying I'm also part of that. It's not like I'm sitting here and giving you all this philosophy saying I'm some high and mighty guy. I'm part of this whole thing, and my mind is also in the same game. So it is vacillating, going back and forth, the mind, vikshipta. And but when it is concentrated in those states, fine. But when it comes out, all the suppressed or repressed desires come up, which is what causes some of the things like are talked about in the Puranas and scriptures. The sages concentrated, but then they come out of it, and then there's downfall. Some temptation comes up, some desire that is repressed or suppressed, and that takes hold, and then they're gone. In the scriptures, it is said even the asuras were meditating. It's concentrated. They achieved powers, no problem. But it is not really towards liberation. They are concentrating and meditating to achieve some material thing. And they come out of it, their desires are about property, destroying somebody, overcoming somebody else. So that kind of concentration. But it is not about liberation. So, but the concentration attained by a mind which is one-pointed, occupied in one thought, gets us closer to enlightenment. One thought eventually leads to what we were talking about, samprajñata samadhi. Staying in that one thought for a prolonged period of time. And that samprajñata samadhi has different levels, which hopefully we may talk about, may not talk about, we'll see. But that itself is not enough. We need to go even further and stop the mind. Completely arrest the mind. That is what is asamprajñata samadhi, which leads to emancipation, liberation. So the different states of mind are being talked about. That's why the masters refer to that, saying this is something that this one sutra is talking about. So this is just about atha and the mind. So this itself may have triggered in some of us, because we already talked about the states of the mind, it may trigger in you saying, another question, where is the mind? Right? What is the mind made up of? How does the mind work? Prashna. It started raising a lot of questions in my mind. So where is the mind? Many intelligent people here. So where is the mind? Anybody? Okay, so she's read. in the astral body. So, from a physical standpoint, if you ask somebody from the medical field, there is no distinction between the brain and the mind. There's constant referral to this as the mind. But the yogic science says that is not the correct thing. So the mind is part of the astral body. The mind is mobile. It's transmigratory, meaning it is going from body to body to body, accumulating experiences in every body. And for those of us who have not read the book, Know Your Mind by Sri Guruji. He is explaining what is the mind. What is the mind made up of? We are all yogis, right? We are meditating here, we are coming to retreats. Meditating. Why are we meditating? Pardon?
Know the mind.
To know the mind, okay.
To be liberated from the mind.
To be liberated from the mind. Okay, very good. Anybody else? To go beyond the mind. Very nice. All excellent answers. So, if I want to go beyond the mind, if I want to be liberated from the mind, I want to know the mind, at least I need to know where it's located, what are the parts of the mind, how they work, what am I up against. Whether it is the Bhagavad Gita, which is a battle outside, right? But it's also a battle inside. It's a war. And each of us is fighting a war. And in a war, who is considered superior? The first and most cardinal rule in war is know your enemy. If you have read the book, The Art of War, who is the author? Sun Tzu. Most of the management school people are given this book, first thing, The Art of War. First thing he says is know your enemy. If you don't know your enemy, what are you up against? You should know how this enemy is going to think, what is the strategy, etc., etc. So, in our case, if I'm going up against the mind, I need to know how does this thing work? 4 parts of the mind. Beautifully explained in this book, Know Your Mind, by Sri Guruji. If you have not read the book, kindly get the book and read it. First is manas, mind with a small m. Continuous flow of thought. One thought after another. All of you are sitting here, listening to this person speaking, physically present, mentally absent. I could be at an ice cream parlor eating ice cream sitting here. Mind is loafing. It's gone somewhere. That is the nature of the mind. It is not present in a point at any point in time. Fixed. That's the small m. Manas. And this manas is cause for all doubt and confusion. That is why Sri Guruji says, samshayatmika manaha. Samshaya means doubting mind. I got up this morning. First of all, before getting up, it's cold, it's rainy. let me sleep for another 5 minutes. 5 minutes. After that, I will meditate. The battle of the mind has begun. So I'm fighting right away. And it's the same thing. I get up, okay, finally I did not meditate or whatever. Should I go to the ashram today? Some lecture is there. Some fellow is going to talk. I'll just skip it. Just go in the evening. Most important is Guruji's talk in the evening. Battle of the mind. But something in me says, no, I'm going to go. I need to go and see what the session is, attend the whole thing. What is that something that caused me to change that confused state to a decisive state? Intellect. Buddhi. Buddhi. The decisive faculty. Nischayatmika manaha. The decisive faculty. And this decisive faculty, when it is not functioning properly, we are not able to make the most basic of decisions. I'm standing in front of the closet. What clothing to wear? Okay, top is red, the bottom is brown. No. Top is red and bottom also has to be red. Okay, then the shoes has to be white. No, it has to be red. I'm not able to pick the right clothes. I'm not able to make basic decisions. Why? Because this lower mind, which we called as manas, is confusing me with a lot of thought and alternatives, continuous alternatives. I could be shopping. Why go and listen to this fellow talking? Go and play some 9 holes of golf or 18 holes of golf. Enjoy myself. Go hit the beach. It's hot in summer. Alternatives are being presented. But instead I decide, very decisive. And this decisive faculty is called the higher mind. And the more we are able to work with the lower mind, which is all of us meditators, the more we meditate, this lower mind becomes quieter and quieter. That decisive element begins to work better. Very clear, no wavering in my decision-making capability. The third faculty of the mind is memory. Chitta. Very important faculty, because we will talk about chitta in a minute. From this memory comes all thought. All thought coming from this memory. Very important. And then we come to the fourth faculty, ahamkara, ego. All of this has been packed into one statement of Sage Patanjali, Atha Yoga Anusashanam. And you're saying, where is it packed? We come to the very next word, yoga. Atha and yoga. What is yoga? Union. Union of what? Mind or intellect with body. Body and soul. Different answers. Yes, and this is where the statement of Sage Patanjali comes in, which is actually the next sutra, and that is what is the question saying. Right now, there is no clarity. What is yoga? I have different thoughts about yoga. Somebody is probably thinking, hey, what are these talking about yoga, union? I know of a yoga which I'm doing all kinds of physical exercise. I go to the yoga studio. Yes, that is also yoga. That is where Sri Guruji's explanation comes. Yoga itself has 32 meanings in Sanskrit. 32. But the most relevant meaning for us is to yoke, to connect two dissimilar things. Yoking, Y-O-K-E, not egg yolk. But egg yolk is also connecting two dissimilar things. It is the in-between, the shell and the core of the egg, right? So this yoking, some of us here in Homestead, there are horses. They connect a horse to a cart. You get a buggy, horse cart. In India, it's very common. You connect a bull or an ox to a cart, and you get a bullock cart in villages. Transport goods, people, everything in that. You're connecting a live animal and a cart. You're yoking, uniting. So this yoga that we are talking about is that there is a uniting, there is a union within all of us. And that union is, the first union is the union of the body and the soul, which is broadly, symbolically mentioned like this. When I say this, that means I bow to that union in you. The union of the body and the soul. Gurudev used to show his hands like this. How many hands do you see? One. There are two. Behind that one is an invisible counterpart. And that invisible counterpart is the soul. Union. That is the first union. And the second union is
Individual soul with the Almighty.
with the cosmic consciousness, which we also call as God or the Supreme Self. That union. So what has this got to do with yoga? What has this got to do with the mind? What has this got to do with liberation? How are all these things connected? Why should I meditate? Why are we practicing Kriya? Kriya Yoga. For realization. How is realization going to come about? Okay, we're practicing the discipline.
Mind, elimination of thoughts.
Okay, so now we are talking. What is the obstacle? What is it that is preventing me and all of us in being in that state of realization? Somebody is pointing to the brain and saying, mind. Okay, fine. What else? Thank you. Somebody said body. Then what else? Ego. Yes. And then? Desires, environment, mind, body. And in the body there are something called senses. The in-between, the go between the mind and the body. The connecting link. Because it is these sense organs that are sending me outward. The mind is utilizing the sense organs. And saying, hey, look. Such a beautiful flower. What nice smell. Wonder what they are cooking for lunch today. It took me out. Oh, she's singing so beautifully. I'm hearing nice song. My sense organs are all taking me out. Bring it all in. Make it one-pointed. Then stop it. That is the purpose. If you stop it, then you realize that you are nothing but you. And what is you? You meaning the soul, the Supreme Self. When we say you, automatically in our day-to-day life, automatically if somebody asks you, who are you? You'll say, I am Purushottam. You will never say, I am the self, because I am not established in that state. Because of these obstacles, the fundamental obstacles, the mind, the body, senses. They're taking me out. So this Atha Yoga Anusashanam, yoga, we are trying to get to this state of union by transcending these obstacles. How to transcend these obstacles is the question. But practice. Good point. That practice, what is it that we are practicing? We are going to practice?
Practice Kriya.
Practice Kriya. So that brings us to the third word. Anusashanam. But before going to Anusashanam, let us stay with this word yoga for a quick second. Because I said 4 parts of the mind, manas, buddhi, third one is chitta, and then ahamkara. So let's stay with this third word, chitta. Now look at the definition for yoga according to sage Patanjali, which is actually the next sutra. But in the next sutra, he defines yoga. And how is yoga defined? Yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. So, what is the 4th state of mind? 5th state of mind? Niruddha, stopped. And here he is saying yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha, to stop. Chitta, memory, to stop. Stop. What does this sutra mean? Yoga, the art, the discipline, the technique, the method is to stop the modifications or waves of the mind. Correct? So, yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. This word vritti means waves or modifications of the mind. We want to stop it. So, he is saying then yoga is not only the technique, the method, everything, but it is also the result. Once you are able to achieve this, you are able to experience union, which is what the sage Patanjali and the interpretations of the masters are talking about here. Sampragnata samadhi is one thought. You can bring the mind to one thought, then you're able to stop the thought completely for a prolonged period of time. Then happens the highest state of samadhi. Before that, yes, you can experience other states of samadhi, but they are not liberating you yet. Unless one experiences the complete cessation of the mind, then liberation happens, which is asampragnata samadhi.
Asampradanya samadhi means that even that one thought is gone.
No thought. No thought. So, we have come from Atha Yoga. We are talking still about yoga. And this vritti, word vritti has been very, very, very beautifully explained by Sri Guruji. One of the explanations for vritti is waves, modifications. Waves of the mind. Modification is continuously modifying. But Sri Guruji calls it as a circular tendency. How in the world would you figure out vritti means circular tendency? That's why you need a master. I'm not there. I'm just a disciple. If I were a master, I would have interpreted saying circular tendency. What is circular tendency?
Repeating again and again.
If you take a pebble and throw it into a still lake or your swimming pool, what happens? Ripples. What is the shape of the ripples? Circular. Circular. And those ripples, what happens? It creates motion, right? And first ripple is right near where the pebble fell. Then bigger, smaller, smaller, bigger, 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 bigger. Finally, it strikes the boundary. Correct? Now, I take a pebble in the form of a sentence and drop it into the mind. I say, Purushottam is so beautiful. Look at the smile on his face automatically. What happened? I put a pebble into his mind and the immediate ripples. It did not stop there, but the ripples came out, translated into the outer body, and smiled, blushing. That is what happens to all of us. Circular tendency of the mind. Now, that ripple did not stop with his smile. That ripple went into the environment, leaving a positive vibration. I take that same pebble and drop it into the mind. And I say, Bindi Ma is a horrible cook. Even though she is excellent. So, but I just dropped another pebble. And this pebble is a negative pebble. If Bindi Ma was not strong, and she knows he's a good cook, so she says, I know him. But if it was a really strong word, what happens to that ripple? Long face, tears, anger. That is what happens. And that does not stop there, remind you. The ripple did not stop at the body. It goes into the environment. Negative vibration. Set off. So if we are in a situation, a place where there is constant negativity, there is this negative vibrations or ripples going out, emanating from the individual into the environment. So the whole environment becomes toxic. You go to a temple, you come to this meditation hall, people meditating, pujas, presence of the masters, subtle and physical, positive. Feel nice, feel calm, feel peaceful, positive vibration. Just this one word, vritti, what it does to my mind. Positive vibration. That's what we are talking about. So, we have not yet talked about the last word, Anusasanam. But I need to stop if I look at the clock. So it is 10 o'clock. We will pick this up at the next session, talking about Anusasanam and other sutras that we will pick up that are relevant. If you have questions, we will also, I was thinking of stopping 45 minutes of a talk, and then we'll talk about questions so that we discuss about things. But we will do that at the next session. If you have questions from this session, let's discuss it and talk about it so that this matter sinks in and you understand what we are dealing with. And this is yet just the beginning, the first sutra of this text, Atha Yoga Anusasanam. So, with this, it is 10 o'clock. We will break because we have to meditate. Thank you all. I humbly bow down to all of you. Jai Guru.